We begin in Ecuador this morning, where Pope Francis will conclude a 4-day visit in about 4 hours. Good morning, everyone. For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. Francis will now travel to Bolivia. Now in Ecuador, 1 million people crowded streets and flocked to Quito's St. Francis Square to hear his message of social justice. Pope Francis also spoke about the environment and criticized the rich international companies of harming it. He also says protecting the planet is no longer a choice, but a duty.
The goods of the earth are meant for everyone, and however much someone may parade his property, he has a social mortgage. In this way, we move beyond purely economic justice, based on commerce towards social justice, which upholds the fundamental human rights to a dignified life. The tapping of natural resources, which are so abundant in Ecuador, must not be concerned with short-term benefits.
Ecuador, Bolivia, and Paraguay provided Pope Francis a range of new Pope mobiles for his visit. Now, Pope Francis decided to forego a bulletproof Pope mobile in favor of open vehicles, as we saw there. Of course, traveling through crowds in open vehicles is dangerous for such an important world leader, but the Pope says he prefers to be closer to the people. The pontiff has said he is simply unable to properly greet people inside the custom-built sardine can, as he has called it. And true to his off-the-cuff style we have become familiar with, the Pope has said that at his age, it really just he doesn't have too much to lose. In the Mexican state of Michoacan now, there are fresh security concerns after a photo of a group of heavily armed men appeared on Facebook. Their weapons included rocket launchers and anti-aircraft weaponry. Now, they claim to be self-defense forces. These types of sophisticatedly armed groups have been linked to drug cartels in the past. Michoacan has been affected by criminal violence as well as unjustified police killings. Authorities have vowed to fight against extortionists, kidnappers, and other criminals with little success. Also in Mexico, where 2 youth activists remain locked up on robbery charges. As Clayton Kahn reports, the pair's relatives say authorities have invented those charges to silence the couple's message.
Since November, Wendy Reyes has been relentless in demanding the freedom of her detained brother activist Brian Reyes and his partner Jacqueline Santana, a major shift from her previous attitude before what she says was their arbitrary arrest.
I was not very addicted or had any interest in politics. I was zero politics, and if you were to talk about politics, I'd turn the other way.
While the authorities charged the couple of robbery, Reyes believes the criminalization of her brother and Santana was to send an ominous message to other youth activists. Yet she says it has backfired, provoking her to be more critical.
To me, justice is setting free all political prisoners. They have no reason to be locked up. They did nothing but only raise their voice and say what they believe.
The duo's legal team echoes the sentiment that the case of Brian Reyes and Jacqueline Santana is part of a broader strategy to criminalize social protest, especially young activists.
Since the imposition of the regime of Enrique Peña Nieto, a series of provocations against students and populist movements has been fomented. The reality has been to criminalize social protests. The truth is that the right to protest in the Constitution has been destitute.
Yet other analysts believe that this strategy is not necessarily so explicit. They argue that the use of widely practiced and embraced impunity reinforces the social order.
There is not any order or instruction from the Interior Ministry to repress youth, but what there is an absence in 2 things: a sentence and sanctions. They should tell us how many sanctions have been applied against public functionaries that commit abuses against youth.
Although a legal injunction affirming the innocence of Reyes and Santana was recently granted, rights defenders denounced that in the Mexican capital alone, only 1 public official has been charged for state abuses against political actors since 2013. Clayton Kahn, Telesur, Mexico City.
And we take a look at the other news around the world now in our World News Roundup.
The Chinese President Xi Jinping has arrived in Russia ahead of the annual BRICS summit, which is expected to kick off in the next hour or so. The BRICS emerging economies will launch a development bank with an initial $50 billion in capital. They also aim to put the last touches to $100 billion contingency currency reserves pool. This bank will be alternate to the IMF and World Bank, which are US-backed and controlled. They are also criticized because they're Western biased. The BRICS is formed by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa.
Well, I think one of the things that that's happening today is the emergence of Greater Eurasia. Now, the impetus for this comes from the east of the continent. It comes from China. It's not so much Russia pivoting toward the east as China moving west that is behind this emergence of a new Eurasia.
Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras addressed the European Parliament to request a deal that will keep his country inside the Eurozone. He told them that his government has redoubled efforts to get a socially just and economically sustainable solution to the Greek crisis. But he warned they would not repeat the mistakes of the past, which have condemned the Greek economy to a period of never-ending impasse of austerity, trapping their economy in what he called a recessionary vicious circle. His words were confronted by the European Central Bank. Iwo Nowotny, an ECB official, said without a deal with its creditors, Greece risks a state of total bankruptcy and an exit from the Eurozone. Donald Tusk agreed.
Our inability to find agreement may lead to the bankruptcy of Greece and the insolvency of its banking system. And for sure, it will be most painful for the Greek people. I have no doubt that this will affect all Europe, also in the geopolitical sense.
2 California police officers have been put on administrative leave after shooting a Hispanic or black person. They had responded to reports of a man shooting his firearm in a small park in Bakersfield, a small desert city. Police officials said an investigation is in process. No further details have been made public. Witnesses said the body was exposed for over an hour. The United States have been internationally condemned due to racial police killings of unarmed black men and women that have been publicly exposed in the last few months.
This afternoon, or actually this evening, at about 5:56, officers were dispatched to Stern Park, which is located at 5201 Monitor Street, regarding reports of a male subject described as a Hispanic male or a black male with a firearm that was firing the firearm in the park. Once officers arrived, there was an officer-involved shooting. The suspect is deceased here at the scene. There has been a firearm recovered here at the scene. 2 officers have been involved in this officer-involved shooting. They are currently at police headquarters while we are conducting an investigation into exactly what took place.
The migrant crisis in the United States appears to have yielded. A high Washington official reported that the number of people illegally crossing the U.S. border from Mexico fell by 34% between October 2014 and last month. Philip Miller of Immigration Customs Enforcement, known as ICE, also said the detention of accompanied minors decreased by 51% after reaching a historic high of over 50,000 last year.
The week-long San Fermin bull runs in Pamplona, located in northern Spain, continue. 2 men were injured in the bull run this year. Large numbers of both local and international runners have taken part in the festivities. Now, the animals completed the 846-meter-long run in 2 minutes and 14 seconds. Many Spanish towns really hold festivals involving bulls during the summer. San Fermin, though, is one of the most famous internationally and attracts thousands of revelers, many of them from abroad. That's what we're covering on this Wednesday morning here from Caracas. We have plenty more on those stories at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle. Have a great day.